And we're going to go a little bit off piece today. We're going to be looking at some associated wrestle rubbish. We're going to be looking at the TV pilot Tag Team, starring Jesse Ventura and Roddy Piper, made for ABC, the US TV network, in 1991.
How many of these episodes are actually out there?
One.
Just one?
Just one.
Do they film any more?
No.
No, just the one. That's the best they could do.
It was. This mixes sort of wrestling as people who weren't into wrestling thought wrestling was in the 80s.
Yeah.
With a sort of 80s TV action movie series.
It's US Rumble.
It is.
It's gonna be a Rumble.
All the wrestling stuff very much gets in the way of the show.
Yeah.
A bit like you make Happy Valley and you go, everyone who's in Happy Valley used to be in the British pro wrestling industry.
Yeah, exactly.
And every scene you have, one of them makes a reference to a wrestling Noam Dar. Or they go, oh, Christ, look at the state of this fucking room. It looks a bit like insert venue
Young
here.
David's bedroom.
Oh, Portsmouth Guildhall on a Wednesday night when you're working for XPC Wrestling. It's so annoying that they keep on harking back onto that. Yeah. Piper and Ventura are playing tricky Rick McDonald, who is Muck. That's a Scottish name, isn't it? They mention in the start he hails from Glasgow. And Bobby the Body Youngblood. That's Jesse the Body Ventura. Yeah. It's all a bit lazy.
Put body in there.
Put body in there. Youngblood, also the name of a very popular mid-80s NWA performer, Jay Youngblood. Rick McDonald. There's not been... Drew
Rick
McDonald
Martel?
we had, yeah.
Rick McTell?
Ralph McTell, who, of course, is the author of Streets of London. This very confusing script.
Who am I now? Billy, who am I now? You're Rick McDonald. You're anyone you want to be. You're my best friend, you're my roommate, and you're making me depressed. So why don't you go back to thinking, okay?
Jesse Ventura.
I don't think he's as good as... I think the further away you get from a seminal project like Predator, you can pretend that you're a good actor.
I was really surprised at how bad he is in this.
We do
really
get to see,
wouldn't.
We do get to see a lot of pregnant pauses when I don't think he knows what's happening.
Well, often he sort of doesn't know what's doing. He's just got a sort of like neutral face on.
Could my butt chin be any deeper?
Jesse had served in Vietnam during the war. It wasn't, like there at a different time.
He got upgraded in this as he still has to be a Navy SEAL.
He does. He often.
We are not here to socialize. Fire your weapon.
Yes, ma'am.
Where'd you learn to shoot like that?
Navy SEAL team.
They taught you well.
I think it's one of those things where people used to sort of say, he's a Navy SEAL. And he didn't rush in to go, that's not quite correct.
That's not quite true.
He was in Vietnam, but he didn't see combat at all. He was in a...
like a lizard man or something. He was sort of like swum around.
A member of the underwater demolition team in the Navy.
Right. So in case the Vietnam War spread to Atlantis.
Yes. Spent a lot of time down at Atlantis when the ship was going down.
You weren't supposed to be down there,
Is
Jesse.
Atlantis a nightclub?
That's where I got my headscarf.
He did mention...
Stole off a lady's chair.
It's known if you don't get a lot of air to your skull, your hair will... But if you wear a bandana, no one will know. There's a little sort of fact I found on it, which is, I think, on his Wikipedia, where it sort of mentions he did actually work alongside the Navy SEALs, even though he wasn't one. Okay. And I was like, no one is putting that in if you're not Jesse Ventura. Just doing a politics thing where you go, but find a way to merge those, like, untruth and what really happened.
We put our coats in the same building.
Many times over the years, people called him a Navy SEAL, including, high-ranking military people, although Jesse want to make it clear, I'm not technically sure.
New from the Reform Party. It's the new Jesse Ventura action figure. You can make Jesse battle special interest groups.
I don't want your stupid money.
And party politics.
We politicians have powers the average man can't comprehend.
After being discharged from the military in 1973, he joined a biker gang called the Mongols.
Yes.
In 1974, he left. Shortly after that...
Like it's a job.
The gang went into open warfare against the Hells Angels. There was a big biker thing.
Right.
But Jesse's loved that biker lifestyle, hasn't he? Even in this, he has to rock up on a big hog
Yeah, and I would say that he's not a Navy SEAL, but he works with the Navy SEALs. He's not a member of the proper biker gang. He's the secondary one that lost the war.
Yeah, he's also a huge star, but slightly in that period where we're still, television hasn't transformed the industry.
Yeah.
So he was very much in the mould of superstar Billy Graham.
Yes,
good
Scott,
talker, very flamboyant, great body. He had great success in the AWA and the WWF. But in 1984, he was going into a Madison Square Garden main event against Hulk Hogan. And he was rushed to the hospital in San Diego, it says, with a pulmonary embolism.
Wow.
He obviously hadn't turned up to Madison Square Garden when this happened. It was coming up.
Maybe it was that child that Hulk Hogan said, I'd met a small dying child. That was Jesse Ventura. He was in terrible trouble.
I saw it on TV. I guess it'll be one empty seat when I wrestle at Wembley. I used to tear my shirt, but now you tore my heart. I knew you were a Hulkamaniac right from the very start. Right from the start.
He had a blood clot and it required blood thinners.
Right.
And Jesse then sort of said, well, if I'd have been bleeding in the ring, the blood thinners meant it would never stop. So he retired.
Right. Don't bleed.
That seems like a copable problem.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds very much like steroids.
Yeah.
I can't take my steroids on my blood thinners.
He later did say that the embolism was because he was exposed to Agent Orange in Vietnam.
Again.
I ask you to remember once again, he did not see active combat duty in Vietnam. He becomes the WWF's colour commentator, and he is the larger-than-life bad guy who was a really, really capable guy on that microphone. Eloquent, and he had a good delivery. Well, really, what that sets him up for is they go, we need a muscular man who is capable of following direction and being able to speak. And that gets him his role in 1987 in an action film. He is in Predator, and the same year, he's also in The Running Man. He would become friends with Arnold Schwarzenegger on the set of Predator, and he got to usher one of the great lines in action movie history.
Son of a bitch is dug in like an Alabama tick.
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Oh. Okay.
He would never really have any great roles like Predator and The Running Man again. It was flukes in that he was in films that turned out to be massive, where he was also really good because he wasn't asked to do much more than not be Jesse Ventura.
Yeah.
He was in the Denzel Washington 1991 flop Ricochet as well.
Right.
And then he started making sort of low-budget direct-to-video action films as well, on the basis of the fact that he'd been in Predator.
Yeah.
Abraxas, Guardian of the Universe, which we didn't actually watch it, but it is a mad thing about killing children. And
Hello. I suppose you're not tired. Do you want to sit up here with me? I'll tell you a story. It's about two men who were partners. Policemen? No, I'd say more like peacemen. That's a person who tries to solve things peacefully.
This episode is really about my own desire to have a son. I have 4 daughters, and whilst I don't blame them as such, I don't really feel they're on my side.
Now, Piper has followed a slightly similar career path in that he's a wrestler who's made a successful transition to film. Again, really luckily. The Rock and Wrestling Connection in 1984 is really where he comes to prominence nationally. He is so good on the mic. He is capable of delivering lines, and he is handsome in a way that a lot of wrestlers weren't. When he had short hair, he just looked like any other wrestler. When he grew it long and it was all wavy,
like He-Man.
He's good looking, wasn't he? You know, he made
he's sort of doing this a bit.
He does a lot of that.
That's all of it.
As time went on, he sort of began going. And everything he speaks, he can't just go, tell me about that. He has to go, tell me about that. Gremlin, sort of like living in his head. He made They Live in 1988, which of course is John Carpenter's low-budget, phenomenal central conceit movie. Aliens have infiltrated human society. They are keeping them docile and compliant using subliminal advertising. Piper, who is a down-on-his-luck construction worker, just one day finds a pair of special sunglasses.
Special sunglasses?
No backstory to what they are or why they've been
there. To the scenes.
Puts them on and he can see all of these,
spooky aliens.
Yeah, and the billboards, the subliminal advertising, stay asleep, no imagination, submit to authority, enjoy cultaholic. They're all there. And he also gets a lovely, wonderful classic action movie line.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
And that line, I think, was nicked by the video game character Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
Which that's where I heard it for the first time.
Got you. It was very 80s as well, the whole feel of it. The first sort of anti-commercialism blockbuster, if you like. Is he great in They Live? He's not very good.
No, but I think there's very few kind of actors that would be allowed to bring so much of their own, kayfabe personalities into a film. And that was one of them.
And what's really funny is I think They Live is how he is in WCW in the late 90s, where he is just staring, like he does with this. He does a lot of staring in this movie.
I really like this job. It's really starting to feel like we're fitting in. Felt good. I mean, everybody needs a place to belong, huh?
This pilot, it opens with a wrestling match.
Yes.
So you get the voice of Gene Okerlund saying, turn to page 17 of your program. If it's signed by Madman Manahan, you'll get ringside seats. No program is 17 pages long.
No.
Right? No one's done the gimmick of going, if your program is signed, you get ringside tickets. No one's ever done that.
No one's ever done
that.
You're
giving away the expensive seats on something where you've already got people there.
Yeah.
No one's going to buy their tickets because they might win. It's stupid.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your main event of the evening. On No Holds Barred, 1 fall, 1 hour tag team matchup.
Immediately sets it off for someone like me, where I just go, oh, this is written by people who don't really... They've been to 2 wrestling events because they knew this was coming up.
I would just sign the thing, and they just spend ages trying to get the ticket out of them.
Exactly, and I think everyone should do it. And then, if everyone did it, then everyone could get ringside seats for free. This starts with, Piper has Ventura in a abdominal stretch, and he turns out he's just helping his back, isn't he? Because they're tag team.
Oh, they're in the
partners.
locker, aren't they? They're in agony. Yeah, he's in agony.
Piper's got Ultimate Warrior tassels on as well, which again I looked at and I sort of went, oh, that's sort of, he's trying to sort of go, I'm so hip.
Yeah.
I'm so now. And it's like, mate, you were. It's fine. Roddy Piper, you don't have to sort of go, oh, that's cool kids like this.
You were there. You were there.
A child just wanders in backstage.
Looks like the lead out of Stranger Things.
Does,
Looks like a little girl.
Yeah, comes in, just starts slagging him off.
No need.
Piper looks furious, doesn't do anything, which I don't think would. I think in real life, if a kid had come back there, someone would have just kneed him. That'd be absolutely,
Oh, you like that then?
Yeah. And he also, there's some info that you just don't need. And the kid goes, so you're giving up being the Lizard Brothers? And they sort of go, yeah, the scales was really fiddly and the ears got in the way and stuff. Why are we talking about the former gimmicks?
You're adding a lot of stuff in there. And like Mr. Fuji's in there, I think, at one point, isn't
right,
he?
yeah.
He's kind of, he appears.
There's a funny bit in that bit with the kid where the kid just sort of does a sort of like kick down on wrestling. And he goes,
You guys got an image problem. Wrestling's more than just strength and moves. It's down to a marketing science now, guys. Think about it. Andre the Giant, without the name, is just some tall guy.
Andre the Giant, without the moves, is just some tall guy. And the two of them just sort of let him say it, and he walks off, and I was like, why are you fucking dragging Andre the Giant? Why are you sort of just going, tell you what, about Andre the Giant, fucking shit, mate.
I cannot work.
And then you get Piper and Ventura just going,
Why is everybody having a go? In my locker room.
Oh, look, Marty, they do have one fan. We got a full house out there tonight, boys. 25,000 paying customers, and they want their money's worth.
Don't worry, Marty. We'll give it to them.
You don't honestly think you can beat the Samurai Brothers, do you?
Well, we're sure going to give it our best shot. You can count on that.
That's what I like about you fellas. You're scrappers. Now you go out there and take it to them.
In comes an evil woman. Her name is Leona. She is the wife of the promoter, Marty.
It's so much like Rumble. It is. At this point.
There's only one thing that people who don't know about wrestling put into drama, and that's they go, the promoter wants them to take a dive. So, I mean, we're all accepting that wrestling is really real, which again is sort of, it's not. It doesn't work like that. That lack of sort of understanding. Wrestling is real in this situation. They say to her, we've always wrestled to win, and we always will. And she says that she will accuse them of making advances to her if they... Women are such pieces of shit, aren't
It's
they?
just great that there's just so many three-dimensional female characters in this.
She also doesn't give a reason as to why she feels this way. There's no reason.
There's no...
She's just like, you got to take a dive. And they're like, no. And she's like, yeah, that means something to me. They mention as well that she's managed to bar Tyrone the Terrible for life. He can't even get near a wrestling ring. Sexually harassing women, reports of sexually harassing women will not get you barred for life from wrestling.
No,
That's the only
if you do it
punishment.
enough times, you get to sit at ringside like the signed book.
Yes. Does she explain why she wants them to win? No, she doesn't. Because all you need to know, it's the 80s.
She's a horrible woman.
Women in suits are scheming fucking women, aren't they? That's all they are. Piper and Ventura are genuinely terrible here as well. I mean, really wooden.
Yeah.
And Ventura's so worse, which is a surprise. You don't think Piper warms up.
Look, Rick, Marty always liked you more. You could talk to him. Let him blame everything on me. You could wrestle as a single or hook up with someone else. I don't want to hold you back.
Give me a break. We're still a team partners, right?
Right. Got any idea how this team's going to pay the rent next month?
But they're also exactly the same character.
Yeah.
They are wrestler A and B, and there's nothing different from them, apart from Ventura eats grapes. His character eats grapes.
He eats grapes because he's hurt his back. I think they both play the same idiot. They're both like gullible. They're both marks. They're both thick.
There's something odd about it as well. Their interactions with women, you sort of get the idea that both of them are virgins, and not for any sort of aesthetic reason. It's because they simply have been unable, not even that have been rejected by women, they've been unable to actually find themselves in a position where this might sort of develop.
Yeah.
They seem very sort of, I don't know, like they're not fitting into the world.
They're the aliens.
It's sad. They take on the samurais.
I put my sunglasses on, I see the Lizard Brothers.
I put my sunglasses on. I've cut out a picture of a lady. And I look at it and I imagine...
Look at this pen. You tape it upside down. Not a stitch on her.
I'd love to take her out for a meal. Or go to the cinema. Watch a film together.
They are against the Samurai Brothers, who are the unpredictable Soji and the unpredictable Mr. Saki. They are played by the Orient Express of Pat Tanaka and Akio Sato, and managed by the same manager of the Orient Express, Mr. Fuji.
Is Mr. Fuji wearing a New Japan karate kit?
He's wearing something
Does look a bit New Japan-y.
I always get the impression when Fuji turns up to these things, they go, "We got your new thing." He'd be like, "Oh, great, we've got a new coat,
got new clothes.
Got to be wearing that.
Yeah.
I'll be taking that with me."
It's just a high vis.
Worried yet? Let's just say concerned.
It's actually quite a good, for a drama and a TV drama, it's actually quite a good presented wrestling match.
Yeah.
It looks really exciting. It's as good as the Orient Express ever looked. They've hidden the crowd well, because presumably it wasn't a sold-out crowd.
Packed, though. It looked really good stuff. I wonder where they filmed it.
I think they must have done it before a WWF show.
Yeah.
Considering just how the ring is and the actual sort of size of the arena. So,
Mummy, I'm going to be in a film. No, you're not.
Technically, this is Jesse Ventura's last in-ring appearance.
Right.
He's actually very good at the wrestling bit. I really enjoyed it. I did watch it, and I did think he's still got the body after all these years. I wonder how. And he is really, really good sort of in selling and things like that. And I do get the impression that the reason he retired was he'd gone bald. And I imagine Vince McMahon was like, I can't, Hulk Hogan's not bald. You're a bit like, well, he's got a bit still though, isn't he, that he can comb down, and Jesse didn't. And I have a feeling that Jesse Ventura is like, my days are over.
Well,
Ventura's
still got a bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Looking like something out of a fucking Ghostbusters Ghostbusters.
He does.
Film.
He looks like Vern Gagne, the AWA perennial champion. When Vern was still wrestling in the 80s, he's got that sort of same monk's haircut.
We'll be right back.